Hi there, welcome to the channel. It's been a few weeks now, so it's time for a progress check. If you watched my last video, I stated that I aim to reduce my blood pressure without taking medication. To do this, I want to lose weight and at least maintain my current levels of fitness and activity. I listed some of the changes that I intended to make so that I could lose some weight. But first, before I delve into any details as to how much or if any progress has been made, I want to expand a little bit on what I see as lifestyle changes, what I mean by that. Up until now, I've focused specifically on blood pressure, and that's okay because that's a key element and that's what's driven me to initiate the changes that I want to make. But the picture and this channel goes well beyond just blood pressure. My current reality is important to provide some context perhaps. Career-wise, I'm a finance person. I've worked in the finance world since I qualified as an accountant many years back. That means that I've always worked in an office, spending long hours behind a desk, sitting in front of a computer. More recently, since COVID, I've been a remote worker. And that certainly provided me with some opportunities, some benefits, mostly around flexibility to do exercise. However, I'm still mostly tied to a desk all day behind a computer. And it also means that my people interactions are very limited. The only interactions I tend to have for work are through Teams and electronic communication means, which is entirely normal. I am far from my closest office and I work as part of an international team, so it's not actually possible for me to go into the office for a couple of days a week. Otherwise, I would certainly choose to do that. Right now, I have to say that the work I do is not rewarding. I do not feel a sense of satisfaction at the end of the day that I've achieved something or that I've made progress. The company that I work for is great, but I guess as with all corporates in this day and age, they're always making changes, specifically focusing on cutting costs. And as a finance person, I am a cost. With this in mind, and given my age, I'm 60, I'm not sure how long I'm going to be able to retain my current position. And I think that's actually a good thing. So all of this, together with my current health situation, if I can call it that, has made me feel that significant change is required. So what is it that I'm looking for? I want to create a future where I'm fitter, not so fat, obviously eating better, moving around a lot more active, not bound to a desk, and definitely learning new skills. Being fitter for me means more cycling and walking, which will also enable me to visit new places and to see new things. All of this should improve my mental health and outlook as well. And if by doing this, I can inspire other people to do something differently, then that would be an added bonus. But I'm definitely getting ahead of myself now. I'm at my favorite lookout point now. From up here, I don't know how much you can see on the little action camera. I'll try and get it a bit closer to me and then I can pan a bit. I'll also do some footage on my phone, it might be a bit better. But this is really, I guess, why we live in Devon. When you come up here, you can see all the green, the rolling hills, the cultivated fields. There's a windsock behind me. That's because there's an airstrip or an aerodrome. I don't know what you call it. The locals probably call it the international airport because you can probably get to Cornwall from here. But it really is beautiful up here, and it's finally a warm day in May, and I'm really appreciating it, appreciating living here. So, how's it actually been going since my last video, since I made the commitments that I shared with you? It's been about a month now that I've been taking blood pressure medication, and probably just more than 2 weeks that I've been trying to follow some kind of a healthy diet and focusing on my fitness as well. So let's cover fitness and activity levels first, because at least in my mind, that was something that I could already tick off as being on track. That's not something that I'm specifically aiming to make changes for. My job flexibility allows me to train fairly regularly. I've been getting out on my bicycle or riding the indoor trainer probably 3 times a week. And in addition to that, I've probably been walking a couple of times a week. That means I've recorded about 4 to 5 hours of exercise in each of the last 2 weeks. That's a lot more than many people can do because of their work constraints. So I'm very fortunate in that regard. When it comes to cycling, I have a regular route that I follow. I follow a fairly flat route, which is a there and back kind of option, with a couple of diversions on the way out and again on the way back, just to do a little bit of hill climbing. I do about 26 kilometers typically on a ride, with about 200 meters of climbing. I can do that in about an hour, so I'm not fast, but I put in a good level of effort, and I feel that it's making a big difference for me. The prevailing wind is such that when I head out, I usually have a tailwind, and when I'm coming home, I usually have a headwind. So it's really totally opposite to what I would prefer. I'd prefer the tailwind when I'm coming home and rather tired, but that's not how nature sees it. As with all forms of exercise, when one puts in a good level of effort, when you're finished, you always feel satisfied that you've achieved something. I try not to run against time or speed. It's very easy to use the information that you have available and measure your speed or the time elapsed. I rather focus on effort, so heart rate. For me, that's more guidance as to how hard I'm working. In addition to the cycling, I do a little bit of activity when I get a moment here and there with some basic free weights. It's certainly not a fancy setup like you would imagine in a gym. I just do it in my lounge at home. I have a couple of weights here, and I tend to try and focus on upper body exercises. The nature of it is that I can do it very short stints frequently during the day if I get a chance, which is quite useful. All in all, I probably do 15 minutes or so, maybe 3 times a week, and that just helps to maintain some of my strength. And then we get to the most important aspect of my lifestyle changes, and that's eating and drinking. So let's talk about alcohol. As expected, that's probably been the most difficult area for me to make changes in. As I mentioned previously, I probably have a drink 3 to 4 times a week. I'm not dependent on alcohol. I can stop, and I do go many an evening without a drink, but I do find it's a great form of relaxation, and we often use it to celebrate the end of the week, or to have a drink on the weekend, or when somebody comes around to visit. I have been trying to cut down, and on a regular Monday or Tuesday evening when there's nothing going on, I won't have a drink, and I don't miss it. Surprisingly enough, it's very easy to go without a drink. It's just normal. The one change that I have decided to make is to change my preferred cider from Thatcher's Vintage, which is a relatively high alcohol content, I think it's 8.3%, to drink something more with a lower alcohol content, such as Thatcher's Haze, which is also a very nice cider. And no, I'm not sponsored by Thatcher's, I just enjoy their ciders, and they're easily available at our local supermarket. So the Thatcher's Haze has alcohol content of about 4.5%, I think it is, so it's roughly half of the one that is my preferred option. So I think that's a good way forward as well, just to reduce the alcohol content in the alcohol that I'm consuming. Then snacking. That was the other area that I identified as an opportunity or a requirement for improvement. And I think I've done pretty well with that. It's been surprisingly easy to cut out snacking between meals and after dinner. It's not been an issue at all. Instead, I've focused on what I'm trying to do. So I think about before I eat. I realize that often I'm thirsty rather than hungry, so I'll make sure I drink water. I'm focusing on staying hydrated, so I think that's important. And it's also becoming aware of what my stomach is trying to tell me, and it's not always telling me that it's hungry. Then we get on to food choices. And I think I've also made some pretty good progress on this, particularly at lunchtime, where I would normally have a protein with a starch. So now I've been trying to have more fruit and vegetables. So at lunchtime now I will still aim to have the protein, so some chicken perhaps, or some tuna. But instead of putting a slice or two of toast with that, or a baguette, I've been just adding chopped tomato and cucumber, a tad of mayonnaise, so that's probably not great, but it does help just to make it somewhat more pleasant. And I've been surprised. I've surprised myself because I'm enjoying that. I enjoy that for lunch. And I finished lunch feeling pretty good. I feel like I've had enough to eat. I'm not overfull, and it doesn't have that heavy feeling that one might normally have after a starchy lunch. So that's great. I mentioned mayonnaise. Up until now, I've been eating Heinz mayonnaise. I think it's called Seriously Good Mayonnaise. And I was horrified when I looked at it. It's got something like 50% is fats and oils. So that's way higher than I expected. So that's something to be aware of. We've since bought a more healthy, lighter mayonnaise, which I think is down to 20% fat. Still not good, I guess, but way better than the Heinz mayonnaise. Normally, I'm not the sort of person that looks at the ingredients of the food I eat or consume, but I've started to become more aware of it. And I think that's important knowledge to have, and it's a good habit to get into. So, for instance, I have tuna with lunch. Had a look at the tin. I see the tuna is roughly 25% protein. So that's fantastic. You have I think our tins are 130 grams of tuna. So you're getting probably 34, 35 grams of protein if you eat the whole tin in a meal. And that's great when you think of the total protein levels that we're trying to achieve on a daily basis. Overall, I think I've been quite disciplined over the last 3 weeks, and it's translated into a weight loss of about 3 kilograms. I don't really know what I had in mind, but that seems pretty good to me. I'm happy with that. I'm not unhappy to have lost 3 kilograms, particularly since it hasn't been that difficult to maintain the discipline, and I have cheated along the way. Certainly I haven't given up everything, and I haven't given up everything all the time, but I'm positive. I need to continue doing what I am doing, and hopefully I'll continue to see that the weight drops off. I'm sure it'll get more difficult as I get closer to a reasonable weight level. On the blood pressure front, I haven't seen any improvement yet, so that's a bit disappointing, but I think the reality is I can't expect to see it too soon. I'm still well overweight. I have a long way to go, so I think I need to keep it up, maintain the focus. I am positive with the progress that I've seen so far, so I'm positive and energized to keep it going, and I want to have some fun with